What's up, everyone? Good morning again. It's your host, Carlos Ponce, and this is another live episode of Advancio Talks. And if you are just discovering us, welcome to the show. But if you've been here since the beginning, since 2022, well, you know what we are about. So, Advancio Talks is where we sit down with the people actually building the future of business and technology, and not just talking about it, but doing it. CTOs, founders, the folks actually making decisions that matter. So, whether you're drinking coffee, commuting, or just curious about what's actually happening in tech, stick around because today we got Alex Bunardzic, Director of Development of Service Points, with us today. And Alex got stories and insights you won't hear anywhere else. So, that being said, let's jump right in. Welcome to the show, Alex. It's a pleasure to have you here again. Your face is not new to me.
Yeah, hi Carlos. I think this is a third podcast or interview,
Yes,
I want to call it.
exactly.
And
Yes.
I always enjoyed your shows, really well done and to the point. So I'm excited to be here today. I think
Thank
as
you.
we are winding down on 2025, the upcoming year is looking very exciting, and it's going to be a lot of changes. This is my prediction. I may be wrong. I think we're at the cusp of some dramatic improvements in overall in our careers, in our lives. There's a lot of potential, and of course, there's a lot of potential pitfalls. And I'll try and mention some of those. What are the advantages or the opportunities versus what are the hidden, a little bit of a minefield as we are stepping through this. But
Right.
things are moving fast, as we all have noticed, much
Yes.
faster than we've ever experienced in our lives. I've been in this business for 35 years,
Okay.
really doing this since 1990. And so I've kind of seen the whole gamut and this whole evolution and how it accelerates and keeps speeding up and expanding. And it's getting more and more into the territory where we are truly amalgamating technology with business and with our daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting, but it's also a lot of challenges. And, I have a lot of battle scars and bruises to show, but you can't have, some gain without some pain. So I'm hoping today you and I can go through some of these challenges that are currently in front of us. My current role is I'm directing the development of a early stage startup, which is in the medical tech field, trying to automate some of the very highly regulated and very intricate processes happening in healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
health insurance, and scheduling appointments with medical staff, doctors, hospitals, etc. It's a vast field. I've been involved in health tech for a long time, since my first job was 1993, where I worked for the local government agency, BC Info Health here in Vancouver,
Mm-hmm.
and then moving to health authority. So mostly, throughout my career, I was in fintech and healthcare insurance, and uh, and then also some startups connected with legal. These
Mm-hmm.
are highly regulated environments, and they pose unique challenges. So
Mm-hmm.
a greenfield startup, they can just go in and do whatever they want. Here, you have to comply. Compliance is, and also to be extremely safe and secure, you know,
Right. Right.
against cybercrime, which is rampant and getting worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a very complex field. And today I'm hoping to talk a little bit about not only technology, but also from the people side, from the process side, how people organize themselves and what are the optimal ways to tackle this. Because some of the old models that used to proven old models may not continue to be fully functioning in this new brave new world. So we need
Mm-hmm.
to pivot and we need to learn new ways of collaborating
Mm-hmm.
and rolling with this. So I can touch upon that later through our conversation. But basically, this sets the stage. Sorry. Unless you want me to talk about anything else, I think we can continue now.
No, that's fine. I'm sure we're going to have, I mean, there's going to be a lot of questions through the course of the conversation, and there's going to be a lot of angles that we might touch on. But before we go there, just can you briefly mention specifically about the company that you represent, Service Points? What is your value proposition? What is exactly the problem that you're solving, and how did it come about?
Basically, the most pressing problem is lack of automation. Because believe it or not, even today, at the end of 2025, a lot of these organizations are still pretty manual to the point where they are
Mhm.
processing information via sending and receiving faxes and then doing manual check and recheck, which is very tedious and error prone and expensive. And so that's one area where we can move in and propose full automation so that it's kind of seamless and error free of errors and fully compliant with all the regulations, as well as leveraging the emerging AI technologies, which
Mhm.
AI in current state is really good dealing with non-structured information because SaaS or Surface Software as Service has been maturing, but it's all based on the structured information that is well structured.
Mhm.
The data elements are clearly defined, and you have your formalized system that can process the workflow, the transforming of the values. But there are a lot of documents, and there are a lot of kind of fuzzy areas where you can not easily structure those things. And so you need human workforce to actually open the document and eyeball and interpret and distill,
Mhm.
which is very error intense, labor intense, error prone. And so we are finding that AI is pretty good at that, at kind of detecting patterns and sussing out the salient information, summarizing and expediting processing, which otherwise takes weeks. And so, you often you know that people saying, okay, there's a big lineup, so I want to go see the doctor, and it's kind of, everything is moving at glacial pace. Part of the reason is I think this manual heavy lifting with having to, process copious documentation and check and recheck. So we are hoping that by leveraging AI, we can make this process more efficient, economically also more efficient, but also more accurate and less error prone. So it's basically what we propose to bring to the market as a value. Are you still there?
Yes, sorry about that. No, no, it's just that I had to disappear for a second.
Sure.
I almost forgot to plug my computer, and I'm running out of battery. So sorry, folks. Sorry for the interruption, but I'm still here and to continue the conversation with Alex. Okay, Alex, thank you for elaborating on that and on the company. And well, at the end, we're going to share some information about your company so we can get a hold of you, and if those want to reach out. I'd like to jump into today's topic. I was really looking forward to this because I think it's it's very timely because it combines two things, the tech component and the human component. But I believe that today, folks, we're going to be talking about velocity without compromise, uh, and how this affects building lead software teams across borders. So let's start there, Alex. So why do you think that velocity without compromise is relevant in today's day and age?
Uh, the market keeps moving real fast and is accelerating. And with that and all the upcoming challenges, also the regulatory forces coming from the governments are getting more and more specific. And so to meet those demands, we cannot continue with a kind of traditional approach to rolling with changes, which are very deliberate, kind of almost to the point. If you look at traditional organizations, the wheels are slowly moving. It takes weeks, months until something gets modified or improved, and that pace of change is not sustainable anymore. So either businesses get trampled by a more aggressive competition, or the level or the quality of service degrades because everything is taking for too long. So velocity means that, in my mind, the shortest path to value.
Mm-hmm.
Identify that, hey, here's the value here. We currently don't have it. It would be great if we could have it. It would really save our day. What is the shortest path that we should take to get there, instead of going around and round and you know fulfilling rituals and ceremonies and all that? Let's cut through the chase, and instead of valuing copious paperwork and copious documentation and endless meetings, let's see if we can regroup and retool and put this value at the center stage, or as a north star, as something we really are gunning for, and get everybody in the organization focused on that, so that everything else takes the back seat until we actually deliver what we deem as being the most desirable thing to do. That
Mm-hmm.
that implies that people should be in lockstep. It shouldn't be like different departments pulling in different directions. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, which creates those kind of stalemate situations, where the needle is not moving. Everybody's super busy, but you don't see any progress.
Mm-hmm.
Velocity means the needle is moving, and it is moving in the right direction. So it's not just enough to see the needle moving. If it's moving in the wrong direction, then it's wasted, right? It's something should be, we should intervene and stop and steer.
Mm-hmm.
So being able, the kind of what I see the current trend in how technology interacts with the business is interruptibility. We may be charging ahead with some project, and we have chartered it and we are happy, but we should be able to be interrupted. In the olden days when I was working, when we have hardened on a project and we are rolling, nobody can interrupt that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of spend 6, 8, 12, 18 months working, and by the time we are done, we realize this is completely useless. It's not
Mm-hmm.
meeting the expectation.
Right, right.
So it is new, I think, new mentality, or new mindset is that we should make ourselves interruptible. And if in the middle of the work progress, if we notice that something has changed, that all of a sudden we discover new piece of information that we did not know ahead of time, then this event should be able to interrupt us and help us correct the course. Instead of saying, no, 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 we have our roadmap, we have a 5-year plan, and we're just charging straight
Mm-hmm.
line. It's kind of foolhardy, right? Now, the thing is that previously, let's say 30 years ago, things were not as volatile as they kind of are today. So you could, you could kind of set the course and then spend 3 years rolling. And in the meantime, nothing dramatic probably might not change. Today, the odds are much lower.
Mm-hmm.
Things are going to stay stable. We live in a pretty volatile world. We call it VUCA world: V for volatility, U for uncertainty,
Mm-hmm.
C for complexity, and A for ambiguity. So a lot of things in our life are ambiguous, they're very complex. There's a lot of uncertainty globally, right? And a lot of volatility. And so to remain realistic, we need to keep our eyes open and listening and gathering feedback and saying, okay, what we thought was very, very desirable yesterday, we learned today based on the feedback and the facts, not so much. Something else became more valuable, or because there's always new information that comes to light. We don't know ahead of time everything, right? We don't have the crystal ball. And so as we are working, the work itself digs up more and more details. And so the teams should collaborate. And when I say the teams, it's technology, business, marketing, legal, the whole shebang should
Mm-hmm.
should be all integrated and collaborating together and learning from each other and discovering that, oh, wait, hold it, this changed, that changed. Stop, cut your losses, pick a new battle. You know, these are it's a very dynamic situation, and it doesn't help if we are all, excuse me, just set in our ways, and just, oh, I'm just doing my job and I'm just charging ahead. No, we need to look around within the organization and learn from each other and say, oh, okay, wait a minute. Uh, I now have learned that all of a sudden there's this new element coming into the picture. We need to address it. We cannot
Right.
just la 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 or put the head in the sand. And so, to stay competitive, to remain, to not only uphold but improve the quality of our delivery or service or product. These are the um, processes that need to be cultivated,
Right, right, right.
and
So
that's easier said than done.
absolutely, yeah. So this leads me into the concept of technical excellence. So let me ask you a question, Alex. How do you balance technical excellence with business velocity when leading teams? In other words, where do you think that most organizations get this balance wrong?
First thing I'm noticing, because I get throughout my career, I get hired to come in and introduce either what they call digital transformation or best practices, or whenever companies feel like, okay, we feel like we should improve something. And then they look around, maybe if I'm lucky, they find me and say, okay, can we hire you on a 3 months, 6 months, whatever, 1 year contract? The first thing I'm often noticing is organizations tend to structure in such a way that they say, okay, look, Alex, over here, we have people who are paid to think. And over there, we have people who are paid to work and implement what thinking people have, you know, come up with. And
Mhm.
I think to achieve excellence, we should change that. And we should amalgamate the two sides and try and keep it unified.
Mhm.
I think it's good to have those silos. I mean, traditionally, there's a tendency to do that. To say, okay, I hired all these like analysts and all these like whatever, domain experts, and they're the thinking people, but they are not touching anything in terms of like making changes to the software or design. And then there's a handoff that when they're done with their requirement and the specification, then there's a big document over to the technical people, and they just implement the specification or the blueprint or however requirement document, however you want to call it. So then technology becomes like department becomes like an order taker, just taking like a short cook order, like okay, make me a sandwich, make me a burger, hold the mayo, blah, blah, it's already been all specified. In reality, that's not very efficient nowadays, and we need to open up the possibility for people who are actually building products to have a say and to have their own input and to collaborate with people who are domain experts, and so that the entire team becomes aware of what the constraints are, what the opportunities are, and then they can steer the process by reacting to the information that gets uncovered or discovered as the work unfolds. Again, it's proven in many occasions that it's extremely difficult to predict what's going to happen. For example, in March next year or May next year. I mean, we can daydream, but as the saying goes, reality bats last. So we need to remain open to uh, get getting the feedback from the field, from the real life, and adjusting our course. And to be able to do that, we need technical excellence, which means not only technical excellence in the sense of software code or algorithms, etc., but also in the sense of collaboration with the entire organization.
Right.
That without that, we cannot have excellence. We can just have some, polishing or gold plating some part of the process, while other parts are not aligned. And in the process, it just we are not creating shortest path to value. We're spinning our wheels. Everybody is constantly busy, but things are not being delivered.
Right, right. You mentioned a few minutes ago the transformation, digital transformation. So, and I know you are a strong advocate of, for Agile and DevOps. So, let me ask you something. What is the most common mistake that companies make when trying to implement these practices in, let's say, in nearshore or this or in a distributed team environment?
The most common mistake I see is striving to introduce a new concept or a new process or a new discipline by uh, how should I put it? By still keeping it within the familiar realm. So as we work, whatever it is, we become familiar with certain things that work for us. We are still employed, we're getting paid, everything is working, and this is our kind of comfort zone. This is what we are familiar with.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, from the left field, somebody comes and says, "Oh, hold it! There's this new thing called Agile or DevOps," and we think we should embrace it because it's going to improve things for us. Some organizations agree, say, "Okay, we should do this,"
Hmm.
but then they try and implement it in a way that's very, very similar to the already existing way of doing things.
Hmm.
And then that turns out to be waste of time and waste of money and waste of resources. In other words, we need to be prepared to leave behind the familiar territory and venture into something that is completely unfamiliar
Hmm.
and go through that pain of, oh, I feel inadequate. I don't know what this is. There's a period where you have to go through that and you have to feel uncomfortable,
Hmm.
price to pay for progress. But a lot of people are kind of trying to sugarcoat it and say, okay, it's basically the same as what we were doing before, but now we call it that. It's like, and that is not recommended. That is wasteful. And of course, then people come back and say, oh, this doesn't work. This is just marketing, BS. And consultants just trying to, you know, charges their invoices, but it just, doesn't
Hmm.
work. So for it to work, it then need to make that clear cut.
Hmm.
It has to be. There's got to be a period of kind of almost like painful period where you have to make that transition. You have to go out in the cold, and you have to, you know, put your what's the word? Your toes in the cold water and see for yourself.
Uh-huh.
And just
Right.
just by reading about it or listening, it's not enough. It requires actual skin in the game, and skin in
Hmm.
the game, it is an intense experience. It's not something walk in the park, right? But the rewards are then, if you do it the right way, the rewards are there, right? So no pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain, indeed. Yeah, I heard that quite a bit over the last few years. So, let me ask you something else. I mean, of course we're discussing also the human component of operations and DevOps. We're talking about the people making it happen, but I'd like to ask you to also something very technical. I mean, after all, this is a tech themed show, and we are interested in what's going on in the world of technology. And the question that I have for you is in your case, I know that you have worked extensively with microservices architecture. So, when should a company not move to microservices despite all the hype around them?
I would say in most cases, uh, premature optimization is the root of all evil. That's like a adage that we all know. When it comes to microservices, anything premature is not recommended. Meaning, if a company, let's say the company has the traditional monolithic system, excuse me, and it's kind of clunky and cumbersome, and it's not really agile, not moving properly. I think it would be a mistake to right away march and say, okay, drop everything, let's move to microservices. That's a very radical, risky move, and
Hmm.
chances are it's not going to pan out the way we hope it will.
Hmm.
So really would not recommend such a drastic surgical cut.
Mm-hmm.
That brain surgery is not recommended, in my opinion. So what I would recommend is first, in such case, when you feel a pain point and you feel like you're stuck, like a truck stuck in the mud and it's not moving the way you like it, to work with that monolith and try and modularize it within the monolith. In other words, tease apart various domains and areas that maybe your monolith is what they call big ball of mud or ball of spaghetti code, where everything is intertwined and everything is tightly coupled, and there's a lot of global values, etc., which is a huge problem. Rather than now saying, okay, let's abandon this, go to microservices, within that monolith, try and tease apart areas that are kind of self-sufficient, self-contained, but still lives inside that monolith.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if that works, now you have a much better position, a much better platform to say, okay, now that we have separated these concerns and they are kind of, each one has a single responsibility principle and is well tested, now we are in much better position to say, okay, and now let's just go one step further, tease them apart by actually dragging them all the way apart so that they can be independently deployed. Because at the end of the day, microservice architecture is a deployment architecture.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line.
Right.
And you want to be in a position where you can independently deploy smaller chunks without affecting the other ones that are sitting, so that it creates a situation where you're more nimble with changes.
Right.
But I would recommend this kind of staggered process rather than radical cut.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
My advice, yeah.
Yes. That's great. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, and I mean, time flies when you're having fun. But we still have one more question, and I'd like to ask it before we wrap up. This is about, with first of all, this is the last show of the year, so thank you for a great close. And we're aiming the next one is going to be on the first week of January. I'll share the info in a bit. But as we step into 2026, which is the future, which is right around the corner, so and so let me ask you about the future a little bit. So looking at, let's say, at the next 3 to 5 years from now, how do you see the relationship between business teams and engineering teams evolving? What should both sides be doing differently from your perspective?
From my perspective, I think the businesses should start leveraging AI, but in a very carefully organized fashion, not just embracing wholesale like microservices and then going gangbusters and falling flat on their faces. The AI is very good at what's the word? Commoditizing course repetitive things. There's a lot of like heavy lifting and muscle bound work, and that frees us humans to think more strategically and to really pay close attention at what are the opportunities, what are the winning strategies, and then offload the legwork and all these like intense, labor-intense chores to AI. And then that really creates a brand new world where we navigate, the business and technical people are navigating the business by leveraging, standing on the shoulders of the AI, letting AI do all the background work, all the. Now, for that's a very deceptive statement, because people have tried that and really fell flat on their faces. You cannot do that by just kind of. AI is not like a genie in the bottle where you rub the bottle and you 3 wishes and go and fulfill
Right.
it. You have to know how to work with it. And my recommendation, and I think this is a very good opportunity, is to apply principles that have been discovered 30 years ago by Kent Beck, which are called extreme programming. That approach is the best way we can leverage AI, by doing all the recommended practices recommended by extreme programming, such as test-driven development and trunk-based development, working in really small batches, limiting work in progress, and all that. When we work that way, AI behaves the way we want it to behave. If we are not doing that, if we are giving it big batches,
Mm-hmm.
it's where the trouble begins, and then AI can start daydreaming and fantasizing. And the problem with AI, it's very eager to overdo things. So
Right.
it creates like mushroom, and then that jungle now becomes something you get entangled in, and now you cannot find your way out. So it be very, you need to keep it on a real short leash, and you keep relying on the feedback, and that's all the things that extreme programming is teaching. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a big opportunity for companies now to embrace extreme programming. Up until now, that that discipline wasn't very popular because it's getting a lot of pushback from the human workforce. But if your workforce is machines, they're not going to push back. They just do whatever you tell it to do, right? So now here's an opportunity to really apply those principles and push it on the machines, let them work in small steps, and validate each step, have test-driven development, the harness with like really good micro tests, then it's going to really propel the business in the direction. And then, as a experienced and educated uh, professionals, now we have free hands to really look around and steer and remain interruptible, respond to any feedback rather than nose to the grindstone. I don't have time for this now. I'm lost in the weeds. I cannot see forest through the trees. All these things have a potential to go away and to buy us a new breakthrough vistas where
Mm-hmm.
we can now really start leveraging technology without losing ourselves in it. Because
Right.
technology, it gets really complex, and then you can easily it takes center stage, and now it becomes technology for technology's sake and abandons the business or the shortest path to value.
Mm-hmm.
I believe next year or next few years may give us this opportunity to finally, kind of separate
Mm-hmm.
intention from the implementation.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, right now we are these are entangled. My intention is this, but also I'm dragging into the implementation, so I lose track of my intention, and
Mm-hmm.
that important, and it becomes a big mess. So I believe there's a huge opportunity. I have delivered a talk in October at DevOps Belgium on this kind of approach. I call it test-driven navigation,
Test-driven navigation.
where
Okay.
humans are navigators. Like imagine if you're in a car uh, with a friend, you're reading the map, you're navigating, your friend is driving. You
Okay.
now turn left, now next exit. So we humans are the navigators. We are reading the map. AI is the driver. We tell
Right.
it, we tell it where to go, but we don't specify how you get there. We don't have time for that. You figure it out. You change the oil. You rotate the tires. You keep the car in good shape, etc. I'm going to be focusing on where are we going? Where do we want to go? And you're gonna get us there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference, right? So
Yeah.
because up until now, we could not have test-driven navigation. We only had test-driven development, which means I, as a human, am navigating and also driving, and that's double duty, right? So now, when you are saddled with having the responsibility to navigate but also to drive, you're doing a lousy job at both, right? You can,
Right. Right.
if your focus is really, I'm only navigating, this over there is only driving, we can get the job much better and
Exactly.
reliably and less risky. So that's my vision of the future.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Alex. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but folks, if you're watching, we are displaying. This is one of the ways that you can reach out to Alex. It's right there on the ticker at the bottom. That's his LinkedIn profile. So it's simple. It's just his name, Alex Bunardzic, with a Z, Zick, right? Alex Bunardzic, yeah, on LinkedIn. And Alex, do you have an email to share, like or a
Yeah,
website?
yeah. It's very simple. My first name, last name is Alex Bunardzic at gmail.com, and the website is alexbunardzic.com.
Alex, there you have it, folks. Alex Bunardzik at gmail.com. Alex Bunardzik at gmail.com. And of course, the website is alexbunardzic.com, predictably. So that's easy to remember.
Yeah, very
Right,
narcissistic. Yeah.
right. Good, good. This is great. So, Alex, I want to thank you for having been with us on the show. Any final words of wisdom to leave the audience with, and something to be remembered by in this conversation?
Oh, thank you, Carlos. I just want to again mention that, sorry, that we are at the point where we need to start seriously collaborating. What I'm seeing a lot is people tend to confuse collaboration with communication. So when I say, why aren't we collaborating? People say, we are on Slack channel, we are sending emails. That's not collaboration, that's communication.
Hmm.
It means we're actively working hands-on on getting this thing into customers' hands. All of us, right? Because there's many dimensions and aspects of service or delivery, and so everybody has to have skin in the game. We cannot have people sitting in the ivory tower and just handing over a piece of paper. So, okay, you go and do it, unless it's a machine, right? What we talked about. But
Right.
with humans, everybody needs to feel they belong. Everybody needs to feel that contributing value. Everybody needs to feel that their teammates have their backs. Nobody should feel threatened or kind of anxious, or, oh my God, am I going to lose my job? That's not good for delivering value. So
Hmm.
teamwork, intense teamwork, being together, whether face to face or you and I on camera. But this is a recipe for success in my experience. And so this new technology, as I mentioned, the AI, gives us the opportunity to have more free time to collaborate rather than going away and banging on a keyboard and writing code, which can suss out all your energy and all your focus.
Hmm.
Resurface from that, let the machines worry about maintaining the vehicle and keeping in good order, and let us talk about how can we make our lives better, our experience better, smoother, humane dimension, feel good, not feel threatened. Um, all these things, I think, are within our reach. We just have to decide, okay, let's get together,
Right.
talking,
Absolutely.
conversation.
Absolutely. Well, Alex, it's been a pleasure again to have you here on the show. I really want to thank you for having joined us today. And for those of you who are watching, of course, like I said before, this is the last show of the year. But I'm going to encourage the viewers, I'm going to encourage everybody to keep an eye on what's coming. So you see right there, you have the address to the calendar of events. Just go there, advancio.com/tech dash talks. So everything that's going to be happening on the next on the new year is going to be there. Again, advancio.com/tech dash talks. And without that being said, Alex, I wish you a great end of the year celebration, and of course, the folks that you're watching, if you're watching live or you're watching the next few weeks, the recorded version of the show. Stay with us as we step into 2026. And without further ado, thank you so much,
Thank you.
and thank you, Alex, again.
Thank you,
And,
Carlos, for inviting me.
and sure, and see you next time, folks. See you next year.